Hello, we are live for the final Witcher discussion here.
It's the final countdown. Sorry.
Doo-doo-doo.
Got you demonetized right away. Sorry.
Yeah, it picked it up immediately. It's like canceled. If you're here, you probably know me, and you know what? You probably know all these other guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves, and we'll start over here, right there. Bryce, go ahead.
Is that me? Sorry, I should.
That's you.
That's you,
I
man.
just realized I was like, I need to connect to the chat. Hey, Bryce with Shelf Centered. I have been the slacker of the group. I have bailed on the last couple, but these guys have been stalwarts. I have been keeping up on the books, though, at least, so I can talk about everything Witcher. So I'm excited. I hate, just to give my background, did not like The Last Wish when I first read this like 10 years ago. I made a complete 180. That's the actual one. 180-degree turnaround because I absolutely have loved it. And I'm so glad for the push from you guys, wherever. I'm going the wrong way. I'm getting everything wrong.
Over, someone down.
Yeah. So glad for the push, though, to have read. What's funny is like the main 5, but then there's the bunch of short story collections. And we're all ready for the next one to come out later this year, next year. Maybe some that maybe we'll have to get the gang back together. Right?
Yeah. We'll round everybody up. Nathan should be here at some point. We'll see.
Yes.
Joe, I'm JCM Byrne. I write the Hybrid Helix, book 5. I just finished and went to beta readers this morning. So that's a very I'm in this golden stage where it's perfect because no one has criticized it yet. So it's this glorious thing. And if you guys can't hear me, I'm using a mic. I bought a mic.
It sounds crisp.
Right? Okay, so if you can't hear me good, because I don't know if I set it up right. But so I had read like one of the books, but never played the games or anything. And then when these guys started, I read along. Except the one time I read the wrong book, but this time I read the right book. So I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back for reading the correct book. The correct.
We don't mention that.
I mentioned it. I think it's
like I mention it every time.
I'm the idiot who read the wrong book.
Hey, that's a step above not showing. So I
don't.
You got me.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's where I am.
But so what what did you all think about coming in to the final? And I guess we'll start with Joe.
I feel like I expected them to do more, be more proactive. It's almost like there was a lot of pages of like storytelling and like, oh, here's a framing device wrapped in another framing device, and look, oh, this person is having these dreams about this thing, and a lot of characters, and like, yes, they had a role to play, but really that was a lot of pages on like that wasn't. I mean, I guess it's the same thing we've been saying, right? You expect more pages of like Geralt stabbing people and Yennefer throwing lightning bolts at people, and instead it's a lot of not that. and yet 6 books in, I'm still like surprised that it's not that. I don't know why. I guess I'm the idiot, right? It's like every book I'm like, a lot less of Geralt than I expected. Why did I expect more of him? I don't know. Like, it makes no sense.
It's not because he's the Witcher or anything.
Right. It's not the name of the series. It's like if you read The Wheel of Time and there were no wheels. It'd be weird, right?
Or The Wheel of Time, book 3 with no Rand. Sorry.
Right. But it's not called Rand, right? Or even the dragon. It's called The Wheel of Time. So I can forgive. Well, I can't forgive that. That's another.
That book was called The Dragon Reborn. So.
Yeah. I have feelings about The Wheel of Time that we don't need to get into. But we don't need to make me more enemies online. I have plenty already.
Oh my god.
But I like this book, and I keep criticizing it because I'm in writer mode. I'm in editing mode, and it's like I keep finding the flaws. Like I felt there were a lot of pages devoted to stuff I didn't care about. I felt like the last 150 pages could have been 15. You know, like, oh, it's an epilogue. Oh, it's 130 pages of epilogue. Okay. All right, there we go. Which is fine. It was good. It was just,
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you. As far as like the last, was it the last two, maybe last three chapters could have just been one. You know, I felt like he dragged it a little bit more because like after the main battle or whatever, there was like I know people will like give me falling action and stuff, but I'm like, I don't need that much falling action.
are you talking
It was
about
like the ending of the Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King, right? It was just like, and we're still ending this. We're still gonna keep ending this, which I loved, but yeah.
Are you talking about the series of battles in the tower, or are you talking about the after that with like the Piece of Ciri talks of Cirilla
Yeah,
talks?
yeah. After the main, like
Okay, yeah, that's
everybody
right.
gone. You know?
Oh, that was an epilogue. I'm sorry, that's an epilogue, right? That's what you put in an epilogue. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, the peace talks after the war. The battle ends. That but epilogues aren't usually 130 pages, and it was.
And apparently people don't read them, right, Joe?
It's prologues they don't.
Sorry, oh yeah, that's what it was.
So what was your thought? What was your thought, Bryce, coming into the final book?
I like what you said. The framing device. I have to say, after this many books, I'm like, we're still gonna go with this framing device. Like he loves this. Like, okay, we're gonna just like tell the story through some random thing, and I'm just like, is that even necessary? Like, is it really necessary? Like, I love it. Just to not like I think I was given like, hey, Lady of the Lake is all over the place, and it's not the best one. And I think I had the right expectations going in because I actually really liked it. I think a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah,
But it was all over the freaking place. I felt like it was kind of like, all right, now we're time traveling. Now we're like,
I thought like maybe he was channeling his inner Stephen King here, and he's like, there's other worlds than these. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's where I went back and I like rewatched our like first video, and you guys were really good. You're just so perceptive, and you've helped me kind of catch along on like, I remember not noticing things like when he was referencing like Snow White, right? And you guys were like, and that was clearly Snow White with her like, with the dwarves and all that. And then, and so it got me like, I was able to kind of catch things a little better since then. And because of that, so, this was just like clearly like, well, and obviously when Galahad is like, right, like in the story, like, I mean,
Lady of the Lake.
And Lady of the Lake. Yeah. Lady of the Lake. And I don't know. And then you pull in like unicorns, and I mean, it was just, yeah, and it was like all over, but I still liked it. Like I still liked it a lot, and I thought it was a satisfying ending. It wasn't really what I was expecting, but it was like I was like, you know what, I'm happy with it, and I can move on with like having this, especially. And I think that's the kind of thing with the Season of Storms where we can get into that, right?
I mean, you like I haven't read it since like years, so I don't remember much about it.
If there's essentially this like ending to it that's like, so we either revived Geralt or he's just been alive still for this like lengthy period of time, which is it's like it is okay. Like he's like witchers and sorceresses and whatever live for very long periods of time in this universe, but anyway, there's just like it kind of like, I don't know, I felt like it was kind of like a Valhalla like death scene, like where they just like, okay, this is the end, as opposed to, well, then like Season of Storm kind of was like, well, maybe he's still around, like, anyway, so I liked it overall, but it was just kind of funny that there were parts, like there's that part, I was trying to think of, because I literally just finished this last night. Like I was blazing through. No, there's a part though I had to be like, did I catch that right? Am I crazy? Is this what happened? Am I like, was I just not following along, or did I peace out during that time because I did the audio? And I like look it up, and I'm like, no, I got that right. And I'm trying to think of where it was, but essentially like, it was the part where like said it like, and I may be going too far into this, but anyway, just the part where it was like, Geralt and Yennefer are like, I guess we're just gonna go slit our wrists and die. And
Oh
like,
yeah,
and then Ciri comes in and is like, right before it is like he just left, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
What?
yeah, it. That part to me,
I was like, I had to
odd.
literally do research like right that moment, going, I had to have missed something, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I did.
I did the exact same thing, and this is like my third read through, but over the course of 10 years or 12 years or whatever it was. But yeah, I was like, did I because you think, did I miss her like talking him into it? Because she talks to him, but she doesn't really talk him into letting them go.
No,
It's just like he implies like you should know he had a change of heart right at the very last second. And I'm like, this whole time he has been he was undercover from the beginning.
yeah, M here,
To
right?
tell Geralt right before that scene that he basically tricked everybody.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a nice guy at any point. Like you thought. Like I remember that he was Dooney.
We're screwed. Like
I remember that he was Dooney, but I thought that he was just over time something happened. No, he was just an asshole the whole time.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and the Wikipedia, literally, this is what it says. That's why I pulled it up and I was like, as they prepare to do their thing together in the bath, I realize I might be demonetizing you multiple times now.
Oh yeah.
Maybe so, like, sorry. As they prepare to do so, Ciri interrupts them because M here changed his mind and left after Ciri's tears over losing the only loving parents she had known. And I was like, I don't think it said that. I mean, it's implied totally.
It's a little like
I don't think it
of Harry Potter.
said that at all.
If Voldemort had Harry like on an altar with a knife and was like, yeah, you know what, forget it.
Yeah.
Like,
It was like he almost had it
You're a
all,
good kid.
right?
You're a good kid. Like here's a quarter, I don't know.
And there's parts of it where you're like, okay, I can get because he is the father who was planning on doing some terrible things like to his daughter. And so you're kind of like, as a father, I'm like, yeah, you would like feel bad for the tears of your daughter, but I'm like, but you also had these plans with your daughter that you didn't seem to care about her too much.
He spent a long time deciding, like planning to do very nasty stuff and following through.
Yeah.
And, killing tens of thousands of people at least.
Yeah.
Exactly. Untold devastation. At the end, he's like, yeah, you know what? Forget it.
Now,
we're good.
yeah, Joe, like, was this before or after he let them go? Because, like you said, there was like 100 pages of just epilogue. When he, Emir, like, kind of, I don't know if he like fell in love with the fake Ciri or if he kind of like imprinted on her.
Yeah.
Was that after this or before that?
I can't. No, it's after, right? I read the book today, so it was after. But
so it wouldn't even have made sense that like, oh, he's having these feelings. No, that was afterwards.
I can't even tell where we are on the creepy scale anymore. The guy's like gonna have an incestuous relationship with his own daughter, decides against it, and then falls in love with a different girl, but she's the doppelganger for his daughter. And I'm like, I think that's worse. Maybe
you want to know how creepy we got? We got Forrest Gramps creepy. That's how we.
I'm not sure this is a redemption story for him. I guess it's a little better. I don't know, but no, it was after, and then
if it was before, it would have made sense. It would have been like, oh, he's having these feelings. Maybe he's like, oh, this girl reminds me so much of the daughter I could have had, so maybe I'll just let my real daughter go. But no, like you said, it happened afterwards.
He had a moment of tenderness with her. He did have one before. They had the long walk, like in the garden after. Yeah. But even before that, there was a scene of him sort of talking to her, and like you could see that he kind of liked her on at least a little bit.
Was that the one where he was saying, "Tell me the truth"? Like, don't pretend you're Ciri.
There was
tell
one
me the truth.
before he got his hands on the real Ciri and then let her go. Earlier in the book,
but again, you're just like, that's not a lot to imply.
There's not a lot of buildup or exposition. Considering how much buildup or exposition we have around so many things that have nothing to do with the story, there's remarkably little about his turn. Right? There's
Yeah.
you're not getting a sense of it. I mean, they're really just screwed, and they know it, and they're like, all right, well, we lost. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do what you're gonna do. And
At
the other
least we're
part of it,
together.
so here's the thing: the end of the book, right? We have. I feel we have some closure for Gerald and Yen, right? They're like off in some other,
Yeah.
part of the multiverse. They're happy. That's fine, or something.
The
But like the world is still doomed because Ciri needed to save it, and she hasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought of
It
those
was the doppelganger that fulfilled the like prophecy, right?
But
Like
she
it wasn't
can't,
even
right?
her.
She
No.
doesn't have the gene. The gene is needed to like reverse
Yeah,
the
right.
freezing of the world so they don't all die in an ice age. And that just doesn't get fixed. And I'm like, okay,
Did
that
yeah.
seems weird.
Bryce, did you play the games?
I mean, like a little bit.
Yeah.
The third one.
That's why a lot of people like believe that the game is actually canon because the game actually gives you that.
Oh,
That is the end. That is the end of the game. Now, I don't think Subkoff, because he had a falling out with them,
Yeah.
so I don't think
Then
he would
sued
say it's
them,
canon. But it's like that's the story you thought you were going to get at the end. A Lady at the Lake is the story of The Witcher 3.
oh,
So it's like, yeah, it was like
that makes
the
sense.
Ciri's gone, or she's floating around, or maybe she just sent Geralt and Yennefer away to a good place, and she stayed. I don't know, but. And Joe, I'd like to get your thoughts on this because obviously you're a writer as well. Do you think he ended it that way on purpose so he could come back at a later time if he chose to? I always ask this about the ending of series when people don't not, when they're not officially dead.
Especially with the evidence of there being another book coming.
Yeah.
Now we know.
But it's 20 years later. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I never know if that's planned or not. It's weird because it seems like if I were him and I wanted to leave room for like what happened in the video game to be done in books, I would have given Geralt less closure. I would have wanted Geralt more like in the wind somehow. And you could have still ended the book in a more satisfying way, but like it really felt like Geralt and Yennefer were being put out to pasture.
Yeah.
Well, and Season of Storms it is published after, but then it does deal with like more like Last Wish kind of time period. But
Yeah,
then
that's
there's
what
that,
I
like,
heard.
epilogue of
If
that.
I remember correctly.
Then there's like the epilogue though that kind of is like way to the future.
Maybe.
Oh, I don't know.
But
Yeah.
like there were a lot of things in this book that didn't really pertain to furthering the actual main objective and story, but they were really cool. Like I kind of joked about earlier about like the Forrest Cramps thing.
Yeah.
That was creepy as hell, but also really cool. Like like
Good
in
justice.
a morbid way, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Grimdark kind of way.
Exactly. Especially when we didn't get our closure. It's like, well, we got some closures in some places. Like that one felt good.
Just reminded me
like-
of that.
Some quick revenge.
What was that movie where Denzel Washington's a blind dude in this post-apocalyptic world?
The Book of Eli.
The Book of
Yes.
Eli.
Reminds me of Book of Eli so much. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean that, and especially the voice actor for the audiobook was really good when he was doing that. Forrest Cramps is it's like come on over here.
He's one of the best narrators out there. Like I am lost in his like voices. Like I don't even start like there's just so unique, and you can tell exactly who's talking when they are. Like it's so impressive, and I do a lot of audiobooks.
But yeah, we also, I mean, almost everybody died, right? And I actually think that most of them were done pretty well. Who is? I'm trying to remember her name.
It was a little like formulaic. Like everyone.
Well,
had
it's kind of like dead. Couple chapters dead. Couple.
And
But like Triss.
Where she where Ciri gets what's his name and she like stabs him and he's like, and you're down, but don't. And then she walks away and then he charges at her and she stabs and she wheels. And I'm like, I've seen that like 1,000 times in
Oh,
movies.
the Bonnart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Bonnart ending, and I'm like, really? You went there? Like he like leaps at her back, and then she cuts his throat just when you think he's about to get her. And like,
Yeah,
come
because she
on, man.
knew. Oh yeah.
But then
Well-
I'm like, maybe I've seen that since he wrote this book a lot, and not so much before. Like, you know, maybe this
Right,
is one of
that's
the
what's hard.
earlier
Yeah.
places. I can't remember how often I've seen that and where I got it from. Maybe he
But-
invented that. I don't even. I don't know.
Well, Bonnart had to go out that way. You know, he just wasn't gonna sit there and bleed. You know, because what he talked about, he goes, it would have been better if this was in the arena. He's like,
Yeah.
no, that's what he wanted. That's what he would want. But
She could have crippled him or something, and then he could have like let himself die. That's the other option, right? She cuts off his hands, and then he like kills himself because he can't be a swordsman anymore. That's the other stereotype ending. I think we could.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was fine. It wasn't bad. But I'm just like, it's like, oh, another one dies. Okay, they're all dying to save Ciri. None of them even know her except for what's his name.
Well,
okay.
the one I thought, the one that I didn't like because it was off screen was the Nilfgaardian guy.
Yeah.
He fought Bonnart for a second, and then we just went on
Yeah.
to another scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like-
that was
I'm like, did he escape? Did he just get like no? He's
I'll
dead,
be honest.
right? Why couldn't you
It was-
just show us him getting killed?
The one that got me though was the vampire. I was like,
Oh, Regis.
Regis,
no.
like I was so like that one made me so sad.
Yeah.
He
seemed like the
became
one
I was
who
like, oh, I didn't
should
realize how connected I was to him. I like him
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no.
He was really good, and you could imagine him surviving. Like that
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
break the story, right? I guess
Yeah.
someone else had to die for the sake of the storyline, but he didn't have to. But he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Regis and then Melva. I think is that how you say your name?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean hers was pretty bad. Like because she was one of the better, you know, what
She's a good
oh
character.
God, what is the other like little criminal called her like she didn't call her aunt, she called her something else.
She called her auntie.
Auntie maybe, and then she
Auntie.
called somebody else Nuncle or something. But yeah, you had like I was really connected to Melva like the whole time. I thought she was one of the better done characters, and yeah, when she died, I was like, oh no, I forgot. Oh no.
But when Gerald found out where Vilgefortz was and they went to get him, I'm like, is this gonna be 3 more books of them like just not getting there? I'm really glad they actually got there. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
thank
exactly,
you, thank you.
exactly.
They actually got somewhere.
What about there was the one that kept like coming. I was just like, it might have been during the big, huge like fight scene, but it kept being like the pink lady or something. The pink, am I getting that right? Because I was trying to look up, but I'm like, it's been a couple days now, of course. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. So I'm not helpful. There's just a bunch of names thrown out, and I was just like,
There were a
kept coming
lot
up.
of names throughout in this book. He does
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
I wish he did less of it.
the Fringilla one, the like, you know, again, I felt good like looking that up and being like, okay, she's trying to delay him. That made sense. Like that's what I thought. But
It was kind of rough. Like Yen's out being tortured, and like the Geralt is just like getting it on with this chick, and I'm like, this is kind of harsh. You know, she's getting her hands broken and like nearly raped and stuff, and he's just like frolicking in wine country with this chick.
and then even in the end, she's like, "Were you with anyone else but me?" And he's like, "Nope."
Nope.
What? No. What? No.
Well, because he changed.
He said, "Were you with another woman?" And
Yeah,
he's
there we
like,
go.
I was never with another woman. He's like, and then she was like, good answer or something like that. And then he's like,
Why don't I
he's
believe
like-
you? But I was thinking of you the whole time. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I was
there you
thinking
go.
of you
Exactly.
the whole
Then,
time.
then
She
she's
goes,
like,
I
"I
believe
believe you."
that.
Yeah, I
Like,
believe that.
it was
but
the worst death.
but yeah, I mean,
I had Regis for me
Jennifer got
like that.
tore up.
That was just that hurt me more than again that I was ready for.
but yeah. So, what did you guys think about the time traveling in this book? I am rarely a fan of time traveling in any medium. And I would say, even though I like you guys, the first time I went through this, I was always told Lady of the Lake, whatever, not the great, but I enjoyed it. You say I enjoyed it, but I'm not a huge fan of the time traveling. There was some cool stuff, some like
what was the like? How did it help? It kind of helped to make like some little minor oh surprise, like it's Galahad, like King Arthur kind of time. Why we can kind of connect to the lady. I just didn't feel like it was really that necessary. Maybe for some Deus Ex Machina. I don't know. That just felt like it was just so they could kind of step in and be like, let's get you to the right time period that you need to be in.
The problem is the way it advances the plot is we give agency to yet another person who is not any of our three major characters. So if you look at the agency of the three major characters, it's really short. It falls short. Like, what does Ciri do? What does she actually make a choice? The few times she does, it's almost always they're terrible choices. Like just walking into Vilgefortz's tower, like, let Yen go and I'll stay. And he's like, you're trapped. I don't have to yet Len go. And she's like, damn it. And like that was really dumb. Like that was a really poor move, right? I mean, it worked, but so what do we get in the agency of having her find her way there belongs to someone else. It belongs to the Nanwei and the Fisher King. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Nimue or Nimu.
To me, I always dislike that. I always dislike that. I want my heroes to do things to win.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I mean, it wasn't a Deus Ex Machina in the sense that it wasn't like God, but it was just another character we didn't know or care about fixing things. And it was kind of clever. It was interesting.
Well,
the way she did it, that she had seen Ciri as a little kid and then planned it for a long time and then had this plan. It was cool, but she's not the main character.
Yeah. The thing about the, Ciri and, moving through it, I mean, it was kind of cool. And the whole thing with her going into Vilgefortz, we've talked about this whole time, especially from the early books, The Last Wish that was made in the 80s or whatever it was. We talk about how a lot of this stuff he created. Sapkowski was probably the first on a lot of these things that we see are commonplace now. But I think that whole section where she goes to the castle is him subverting a trope instead of, because you thought, she's going to walk. And he even kind of explains it too, where she kind of thought she was going to trick him, right? She was like, I'll walk up and then I'll wait for the right moment. That's the whole thing, right? The wait for the right moment and I'll spring my trap on them while I'm in their stronghold. Well, then he kind of subverts that by being like, nope, she can't do that. He's got her, instead of when she tries to do whatever she's going to do, he slaps her down. And then you're like, I kind of would have rather you just go the normal route on that one. That, in my mind, that would have probably been, just go the normal route and have her at least do something to break, kill him, maybe not kill him, but,
or hurt him. And then the Witcher can finish him off.
Yeah.
Witcher can finish him off. But it's because she did something that was smarter than what he expected. Instead, she just walks into a trap and gets trapped.
Yeah. Yeah. You just made her kind of look stupid after you were kind of building her up to be smart there towards the end. He was like, it's like, okay, she knows this now. She knows that now. She's ready. And then you're like, you walk in and you're like, nope.
Yeah. But the skipping from world to world, I got tired of it. Like she's in she's in a modern world at some point. She's on a road that sounds like asphalt.
Yeah.
Right. Then she's in the plague world. She gets a bunch of people killed by going to a plague world and coming back.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's the one thing that kind of brings it together with this world, because she's the one that brought the plague to Nilfgaard, or we assume very soon a plague is about to break out.
They say it. They say
yeah. Like she was the reason for it.
She got it. They talked about where the flea went, and then they said that for some of the medics, they say what happened to the medics. In one of the hospital scenes, two of them died in the plague, later. So they're saying later on these two died in that plague that got spread,
Yeah.
And it's the same from the same freighter that Siri.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Where did I know that? Yeah.
Yeah. No, so all because I read the book today. I literally woke up and I was like, shit, I have to start reading.
Yeah. Well, because they were like, yeah, and they were like doctors that were like really actually caring.
Yeah.
I didn't get that was one of the things that kept, and then they quoted it again because the guy was like, oh, like, why do you care about who's winning? Like, you know, and then at the end they called back to that. But I was just like, you're a soldier, like fighting for your country, like, or whatever, your country, or whatever. Like, of course, like you have to, you're trying to figure out who you're dying for, or if you did a good job dying for them. Right. Like, I was like, that of course, that's a great thing to ask when you like at the end of your life there.
There was a lot of pages about how terrible war is. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah. Well, and they pull, and it's not just, you know, it wouldn't have been kind of, I don't want to say boring, you know, but kind of like you said, I've seen this before, but none of the main people were in it.
What didn't make any sense to me.
Who did we follow? We followed the kid that had a crush on her like 2 books ago, right? Not Dewey. What the heck is his name?
Jerry.
Rusty, right? No, that was a different. Sorry.
Jare.
Jara.
Jara.
Right? Or at least that's what she called him. I don't know if that's his real that's
what he went by.
Yeah.
Jar something.
Yeah, so we followed him
and he loses a hand
for a while, right? It felt like
Yeah, no, we also followed Rusty during that time too. Yeah, okay. I was just trying to
so we
figure that out.
We follow several
the
characters.
Halfling field surgeon, yeah.
That really made no difference. I guess it was to bring up a handful of characters that are from like 4 books ago.
Yeah,
to
it was
like,
kind of like
this is what they're doing. They're
like
in
a
the
Sanderson, like a Sanderson interlude almost. It just kind of felt like, it was just like, okay, we're seeing what's happening. Like, I guess this war is important, but like we couldn't transport anybody we care about into here.
The war matters to them in that if Nilfgaard had won, their lives would have been very different afterwards, right? So the fact that Nilfgaard lost the war, it affected the main characters a lot. You just wish the main characters had some impact on it somehow, and they just didn't seem to. We're talking about
all the books. Yeah,
all of them, but
I guess currently Lady of the Lake.
Lady of the Lake is the one.
Yeah, Lady of the Lake, but yeah,
that's the one I read today. Yeah,
and this one was and that's another thing too. Like, I felt like this was by far the biggest book. I don't know how much bigger it is than the next closest book,
pages.
Yeah. It was 20 hours as opposed to like 13.
Yeah. So like he filled it with these other characters instead of, and that's kind of what I was told coming in is like, you wish you had a lot more, Geralt. And you're like, okay, that's makes sense because he just, instead of filling it with more Geralt, he filled it with every side character that's been like interacted with. It's most of the people who've interacted with Ciri at one point or another. I don't know if that was a thought in his head. It's like, let's see what everybody who's ever talked to Ciri is doing at some point.
It's like, which again, I don't know. I mean, it's like, because it's from Ciri's perspective, I guess. So that's, because that's our opening, like how it's set up, her talking to Galahad, right? But like, it does. It's like the last episode of Seinfeld almost, like, which everyone considers the worst episode, pretty much.
Well, and what we learned that Jara or whatever, he loses a hand, right? But then goes on to be like
a grandfather,
60 years old or something.
His memoirs, right?
Yeah,
memoirs. I guess he lost his non-writing hand.
Yeah.
And then he hooks up with the wagon driver. We assume he hooks up with the wagon driver. She seems to be trying to hook up with him.
Well, right. and don't you just love like the like one of the most useless moments ever is when like Nilfgaard busts into the medic tent and the doctor's like, "Get out of here. This is for sick people." And the guy's like, why are we killing people and you're putting them back together? Ha-cha-cha!
Yeah,
Stabbing wounded.
Why? What? You're a doctor. Just cower in the corner. Like,
yeah, I did feel like that was one of those just like see how stupid war is kind of moments. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
because that perspective does kind of, you're like, yeah, I mean, I guess so. And if you're
Yeah.
fighting them, you don't want people to be recovering, but I don't think they're going to recover that fast to
Yeah.
make much difference.
yeah,
It almost felt like like the way that people talk about Abercrombie and Grimdark as like an answer to Tolkien, like, oh, the world is not shiny heroes who glow and fighting.
Yeah.
It's like the people are the brutes, and he's doing a lot of that same stuff. I mean, I wouldn't call it full on Grimdark because lots of people are not nasty, but you know, there's a lot of just people being nasty, and it doesn't really accomplish anything. Like the whole, like the Pike, like the guys who were walking along with Jari on the road, and then they were trying to like rape some halflings and they get killed. And I'm like, that was totally pointless. That had nothing to do with the plot. It was just trying to say, look, when people have the opportunity, they're brutes. And I'm like, okay.
This is kind of like a transition. It's like because you know we went from like the Tolkien types of like good black and white, good and evil, like you know, here's what it is, right? Yeah. Whereas and then there was that kind of transition where we were like, okay, so morally gray, and then it went. But I think you're right though that Geralt's too good, right? Like he's too good for this to be grimdark. Like he does have the you know the code that he follows religiously to for him.
Plenty of
he
people
does make good choices.
I was gonna say that Geralt is probably the most normal person in this book.
No, the most normal person in this book is the vampire.
Oh, Regis, yeah. Regis is probably the most normal.
Yeah, Regis is the most normal human in the book. Well, even Geralt says that.
That is true.
Regis is the most human of us all, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, he was.
And I definitely think the whole theme of the whole theme of The Witcher is people are the real monsters. I mean, that's, you know, that scene, and I think that he keeps everything, all this side stuff, the forced grams, the everything is still to push this idea. When I think, like I said, I like the book. This is still my second favorite series, but like you didn't have to keep pushing that into the seventh book. We understand. You could have just given us more story with the three, you know, with the big three, you know.
Dear Andre, enough already. We got it.
Yeah, we did it. Everybody here sucks. Like 99%, you know, of people here are horrible. Like
I don't even think it's 99%. Plenty of people are horrible, and and definitely the humans are the real monsters. Like the worst characters are almost all human. But I don't know if they're most.
Yeah, and I think it's I think and that's what he was doing with this whole like the war thing. I think the war thing was all about like the medic thing. It's like, you know, the guys break in. He's like, you know, nowadays in our war, like that's a war crime, right? No, you're not supposed to do that, right? And back then, it's, you know, I don't know if he's trying to be like it was worse back then, or if he's just still trying to push that narrative. You know, whether he's going historical or if he's just going to his own narrative of people are the monsters. It's like, you know,
I can see why, like, especially with what we've been talking about, why the game developers like went with this as because there's just so many, like, this kind of was like a book of side quests, right? Or like side things happening. Like you can do a lot of different things with that, and because that's kind of a lot of what the game does have. Like, give the main quest and then you have a bunch of side quests. I don't know. That's just what I'm kind of hearing here.
Yeah. Well, I think the game, you know, has, you know, the main quest is kind of like it is a Witcher story. You know, you have the bad people doing bad things, but like you can come off of that and go into just the Monster Hunter mode for a long time and kind of, you know, I don't know, refresh yourself from the you know, the bad people for a little bit.
And that's the beginning of the book too, where the Witcher just like takes like 2 months and does side quests and builds up some coins.
Yeah.
You can go play the video game.
That's true. And then they're like, how did you get all these coins?
Yeah.
How could you just buy
grinding for a
Ermine?
while. Yeah, he almost used the word grinding. He didn't, but he could have. Right? I leveled up. I ground. He got his knee healed. He even got his knee healed.
Yeah,
Fringilla fixed his knee. He got laid. Killed a bunch of monsters. Hung out in wine country. I'm like, the beginning of this book, I'm like, I could live that. That sounds fantastic. Just a whole series about living in wine country, hunting monsters. We could just stay there. I'd be happy.
I still love how Dandelion got in trouble with
and how poor
That's
Dandelion's hardly in this.
But I wanted, and that's the thing is, I wanted more of that. Like
more.
it could've
Yeah,
been some
yeah.
great,
If you're
like,
gonna go outside the main three,
him.
give us Dandelion.
Yeah, like you could have really
Yeah.
had some great flashes of him just pissing everyone off, but it being some good like comic relief we needed in between.
I guess the only way to save him, I guess he couldn't figure out a way to keep him alive through the tower if he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to lose him because that's true. He shouldn't have survived that, if he'd been there. But we really didn't see him. I kept waiting for him to show up at some point and like save the day, and then he didn't. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, not that book.
Well, a lot of the theory is that he's the one telling the story. That's what some people think, that he's the one that's Dandelion half a century, or whatever is the one telling. And of course, what it was this book, right, where he lost his manuscript, and he's like, it wasn't that good anyway. I need to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
But I will.
I will.
From scratch. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. I think does everybody die? I'm trying to think of who. Triss made it through, right?
The dwarves.
And I thought that was one of the things too, like the lodge, is that what it is?
Yeah.
That was one I was just kind of like, I know they'd kind of been in the background of a lot and through a number of books and stuff, but it just felt like they suddenly were like, we have so much power and we wield it over Ciri. And then it was just like that whole voting thing.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, I don't know if you heard her. She's going to do whatever she wants, regardless of what you guys are going to say. Like, I don't even know what the point of this is, but and do you really have as much power over her as you think? Anyway, that was just kind of a funky thing. And then they're like, Yennefer, you don't have any say. You betrayed us.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. Yeah. They were like, first off, they were like, okay, Yennefer, we're allowing Yennefer back in here. We know Yennefer goes against us like 75% of the time,
Right.
and then Ciri, who we have never been able to keep anytime we've ever got her, we've lost her. And then they were like, you can go talk to Geralt or what, and it's like, no, she's gonna leave,
But also we didn't get again, it was just seemed like it was setting up another part of the story only for none of that to happen. And it was because it was like, you're gonna go become the consort of the prince and do this and that and this, and because you'll be able to do it, and we'll get rid of that scar with some illusions, and then it was just
your Ciri's dead, so you can't be Ciri. We'll pick a name for you, or let you pick the name. But and you're going to go have
Ciri
with this.
But also
not
it
even
could
a
be
good
Ciri.
prince. He's not even a good prince. He's like a lower prince.
Yeah.
And, you're like, she's not going to go along with you guys. Has she ever gone along with anything?
Yeah.
And I can't quite tell. She seems remarkably unconcerned about the fact that if she doesn't give birth to the kid, it will mean the end of the world, which she has been told multiple times. I'm not saying she should have stayed and gone with this prince dude, but I feel like she should have been thinking about some kind of alternative plan.
And maybe it did, because there's also when she was with the elves, this is where I just was
Creep
I was
mode.
so confused, where they were trying,
or or you couldn't I don't
and it was just so maybe there is still something, because we didn't see 9 months down the road from this time. This all kind of then things kind of happen pretty quick here.
Could have traveled to our time, gotten Viagra, gone back to could have ended the whole book right there, solved all our problems.
She didn't go too far enough into the
Basically,
future.
that's what he did. He OD'd on the super Viagra and dies, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's it's kind of creepy, vaguely
I forgot about
interesting, but it was just
Yeah.
like the first time it seemed like he was being nice to her, right? He was like,
Yeah.
we'll do this slowly. I'm not just gonna
Yeah,
throw
and then
myself on you.
as soon as we do this, then you're out of here. You're good.
Yeah.
He's like, well, the first night you can just talk to me and maybe we'll hold each other and you can look at my very smooth chest, you know, like very like you would think that they would try, like his whole description was a very girly man. Like it was like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the romantic interest in an anime,
yeah,
right? Like in a woman's anime, right? Like super pretty, or Griffith, if you ever seen. Or you haven't
oh
seen
my
Griffith.
god, let's
He's
not
very-
talk about
yeah,
that guy.
sorry. But like this is another case where like Siri, I like characters who display agency, and she just doesn't. The closer she comes, she submits to the elf dude, and I'm like, that's not a terrible choice, but she didn't trick him into dying and get her freedom. She just followed the freaking unicorn.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't actually like come up with a plan or do anything smart or clever ever. She just kind of gets whisked along,
And then they still keep doing that, like from Sword of Destiny. Like, well, it's just it's Destiny.
Yeah, I mean,
It's Destiny.
yeah, and they throw that in her face. The elves do like
all
how
the
many
time.
times? They're like, do whatever you want. It ain't gonna help you because destiny. You know, like,
yeah.
And I did like they kind of address it, like they go into it a little bit, like, okay, what is destiny? Is it just you just stop and do nothing? Or Siri's definition is you do something, which is funny because then she doesn't.
Right.
Like, but her definition is you have to do something about it to create
Yeah.
the destiny.
She never does.
she talks about
Yeah.
that she talks about that she did something, but it's off the, like she goes, oh, like something about like how you can never ride out of here, like maybe she tried but that didn't show us it, you know, that would have helped her had it been like, you know, I'm trying to get out of here, I'm riding, and then I loop back around, you know.
They kind of do. They kind of say she takes the mare and she tries riding as fast as she can in one direction, and then she comes to the lake again. So she was trying to just run out of there, but that's not particularly clever. Or once she
what, you have to take the unicorns tell her about like the creek or the river takes her.
Unicorns
takes her
help
out.
her
Yeah,
use
just
her
go by
power.
water. Yeah.
But even when she has her power, she almost kind of uses it to like she tries to direct it, but it barely works. And she only does it once, and it doesn't really get it very effective. She
And
does
again-
stuff. She kills Bonnard, right? She does things. She did save the unicorn where she didn't have to, but it wasn't a plan. It wasn't like she just did it because she's not a terrible person.
Yeah.
But also,
I
you
like-
didn't really get the manifestation of like how powerful she is or whatever. You know, it just kind of like.
Well, I
Yeah.
think, I think the whole thing about it was maybe as a writer, maybe he was afraid that because the way they talk about her power is that when she has her power, she's OP. She would just be dominating everybody. So he's like, well, I can't do it. I can't give her it, you know.
That's the thing I kept expecting. I kept expecting something to happen where she'd have a breakthrough and like unrenounce it. That she'd say, "Oh, I had blocked it away because I was afraid of who I was, but now I'm not afraid anymore. I've grown up, and now here's my power. And oh, by the way, Vilgefortz, you're dead." I was waiting for that moment to happen, and instead, it did not.
Yeah, I'm just like I liked when they chased her for like the first section, right? They chased her out of the first world, but then she jumps through like 6 other worlds, but they weren't I don't think they chased her through all of them except for maybe the very last one. And I'm like, it would have been cool if she was like battling them, fighting them through time, and maybe if there was more with the unicorns fighting, that would be pretty cool, because I thought that's where they were going.
That's me too.
You know,
yeah.
Because like the unicorns were coming up, and then like at least me, I assume everybody.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, they're in this like epic battle. Like the unicorns have been fighting like the elves, forever.
Yeah. epic battle between the Nilfgaard and everyone else, and she comes in
Yeah.
with a wing of unicorn cavalry,
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
swoops in and takes
Maybe-
them from the side, and
Maybe I've read too
Well,
much Malazan.
yeah.
Who
Oh, there's
needs-
dinosaurs
hey,
with short hands.
Who needs these newfangled dragon riders when you can have unicorn riders, right?
Yeah. A bunch of virgins on unicorns just shooting things. Yeah.
Dude, why are you not writing this, Joe? This
There
is
you
it.
go.
This is your niche right here. Virgin unicorn riding warriors.
Yeah, you guys need to combine your efforts, co-author. This is great.
Hey man, I'm writing 3 series right now. I am tapped.
He's like, I don't got time.
3 more than I can handle with sanity. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like there was that opportunity. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted her to have an impact on that battle. I wanted her to help defeat Vilgefortz.
At least just to make decisions that affected it.
Anything.
Yeah.
And it just never
Minimum.
seemed to happen.
Yeah,
Or when she made decisions that affected it, just poor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I guess well, be the hero. Like, I don't know, and maybe that's part of the whole thing is like to be like, see, all humans suck. Like, I don't know.
everyone.
I'm trying to
really
read
wanted
maybe
her
too
to get
much
her
in.
fire powers back. I
Yeah.
really thought that was going to happen. It just never did.
Well, and I think the big thing again with the people are bad, it is I think now I don't know how. I mean, I want to know your guys' opinion. Like the way that Geralt dies or nearly dies, who knows? Like it kind of gives you that like Geralt can't go out fighting, right? He just has to go out by some dumbass, like throwing rocks, and then out of nowhere he gets stabbed or whatever. And you're just like, really? Come on, man.
Yeah, I
like,
know.
and that's what I felt with this whole book. I felt this whole book was him kind of subverting everyone's expectations on every single thing. Nobody, we're not going to put anybody in the main battle. Like, we're not going to give you, that's too on the nose. And then it's like Geralt fighting somebody at the very end, and that's how he gets messed up. Like, no, we're going to have him just a riot breaks out,
He's almost as bad as like slipping in the tub. Right? Gerald could have just slipped in a tub and cracked his head open. This is almost as bad. No, maybe he was really just trying to surprise everybody. I'll show them. I'm going to do what they don't expect, right?
He does seem like an author that's a little bit like that. Let's be honest. Like,
Yeah,
like
but
they
if
would
you
do
frame
that.
the whole book that way, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I get what he's doing, trying to be like, people are the bad people. Look, some rando stabs the hero of the whole series, for almost apparently no reason,
And this was before we had all the zombie shows and whatnot that have all been people are the bad,
yeah.
They're all the people are the bad guys, like,
Yeah. This is definitely before.
I tried once, but got the wrong book. That we know somebody who also did a similar thing. but at least it wasn't the first book.
It was a Witcher book. You were reading the second book of shorts, and I read the first novel. That's what happened.
He's like, I'm getting out ahead of you guys.
I'm getting ahead. Yeah. It wasn't good.
But
It was
what
a
do
good book.
like as the series as a whole? Like I know, like we all finished this book within the last 3 weeks or a month or whatever. Like, so I guess over time, your feelings may change. But like, what is your like immediate feeling of, okay, this is now, I guess now we know another Witcher book is coming out. We don't know if it's a sequel, we don't know if it's a prequel or whatever it's going to be, but like, what are your immediate thoughts about The Witcher as a whole?
Bryce, what do you think?
Oh man, I like I said, I enjoyed it all as a whole. Very glad you guys got me to do it, so I appreciate it. I will be forever grateful. This one was a weird kind of way to end it, frankly, but I still liked it. Like, I liked plenty. I liked a lot of those characters that I've gotten to know. 5 books you get to, 5 books plus all the short stories. Like I got, what is it, 7 books total?
Yeah,
8 now, I guess, that I've read. And so I like a lot of those characters. And one of the things, like, when I did a reread of the first couple books of the Wheel of Time, and I got to the one with almost zero Rand, and I realized, like, I appreciated those other characters that much more, and I went, okay, yeah. So I think maybe on a reread I would really appreciate this one a lot more, knowing what I'm signing up for. But it is harder, and I feel like all we've done this whole stream is just to be like, here's what was ridiculous.
Could have done better. Could have done. Yeah.
That was like, because it was just like a lot of just like, I guess I liked, like, and I still stand by, like, I like the ending. Like, I think it was fitting.
Yeah.
Fine enough. But it, even though it definitely was nothing like that I wanted, or what that I can acknowledge when an author does something that I'm like, that's true to character. I can get behind that, and I actually like that decision. And even though it's not with what aligned with what I wanted, right? Like I feel hopefully I'm a mature enough of a reader to understand that and get that. But overall I really liked it. And I like that it isn't just like slaying monsters, that there's more thinking to it, that there's more cleverness. I will say I do feel like the earlier books are probably a little stronger. And maybe I'm just judging this last one, but that they, I felt like in the Last Wish, when we were talking again, just going over our last video on that, it was really good. We just going over like the real clever, like they're very tight knit short stories that are like had a really good twist to a lot of them. But I guess I would say I really liked a number of the books along the way. I haven't rated any of them lower than like a 4-star out of 5, right? So like an 8 out of 10 or whatever. But this one probably gets a little under, but I still is like, it's not lower than a 3-star or whatever, 6-star, depending on your rating system. But again, it was definitely like, it was just such a kind of a mess, and the amount of times where I had to like go look up things and be like, okay, I wasn't crazy. That's just what happened, I guess. And some of it did help. Like, okay, I guess we just are assuming a bunch of stuff. And so I don't like I said, before, I love Erickson and Malazan because it makes you I like an author that trusts the reader, right? That doesn't explain every little stupid detail, like that I have to figure some things out. But there is this like level where you've gone too far with that. And I felt like the rest of the books have been great, but then this one went, we're going to make you really kind of almost write the book with me. And I'm like, that's too much. Right. And I did feel like it was funny until the last couple books, almost everyone would have like baptism of fire. Well, we guess we're going to have to go through a baptism of fire. Or I guess it's the time of contempt.
How many times did you get the time of contempt?
But it was only in that one book, and you're like, you've never mentioned time of contempt, maybe one time before, and suddenly every single character is now talking about the time of contempt, and then everyone is now talking about the baptism of fire, and you're just like, what? And so it was nice the last couple that like didn't like have like the titles weren't. I guess Lady of the Lake was mentioned 1,000 times in this book.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but it wasn't mentioned in that like Lady of the Lake.
I think it was to the point where Sarah's like, "Please stop calling me that."
Yeah.
Maybe it was
enough already.
maybe it was. So yeah, but what's the last book? The one previous.
The Tower of Swallows. The
Tower of Swallows was kind of like, that's just the place. So that made sense why they weren't.
If he could have. He would have used it, but it's like it's a place, so he couldn't really.
Yeah. But anyway, the rest, I thought that was just like a really funny thing when I was just like, okay, we like are really name dropping this. So anyway, overall, I think it's a great series. Oh man, I gotta think of where it's gonna land, because I'm like, crap, I gotta like redo. I did a top 100.
Yeah, because you just did your top 100.
I know, and and I gotta like really rethink some things, because it definitely moved this up, having read the whole thing. Like, it's definitely top 50, I could say. Maybe that. Maybe is it top 20? It's probably getting there. I don't know. I have to really think, but it's definitely like it's a top series for me. I think it definitely easily is in a top 100. So there you go. It's a very good series and very strong. Each book was very, very strong for me. All right, did I ramble enough? Sorry.
All right, Joe. I see the thinking eyes.
So he does so many good things. Like he has so many like good characters. He has so many like interesting little descriptions, little moments that are great. It makes me feel like he's a short story writer who cashed in by writing a big series that he never wanted to write and didn't have his heart in. I feel like this big battle at the end, because it wasn't tied into anything else, it just didn't feel like the climactic battle of an epic fantasy needs to be, which is all the major players there duking it out. And instead you get a lot of short snippets like Jara's story, which is a short story, right? I mean, it's just broken up into like some bits and then thrown in there. The medics, it's like a short story. The medics whole arc, you could cut that out of this book and publish it on its own.
Oh yeah,
it had almost nothing to do with anything else, and it'd be a good story. It'd be a good short story.
They're not bad.
Yeah,
no, but I said it's a good short story. Yeah. It's just not connected to the rest of it. Gerald's bits, Yennefer's bits are scattered and not really connected. They're almost never even together. It's like he didn't want to or didn't know how to do that. I don't want to say didn't know how. I don't know. Or maybe he just didn't want to. I almost feel like he's the kind of guy who was like, I have to do this because they're going to pay me. It's going to sell because this character's popular and someone offered me a publishing contract. But I'll show them I'm not going to give them what they really want.
Oh my God.
It doesn't mean he couldn't have done like a Wheel of Time type story. Like I have no freaking idea if he could, but he didn't want to, or he can't. One way, but one of the two.
Yeah. I think you're onto something because with Sapkowski, like the first two, like it's almost universally. Now, I mean, I know you had a problem the first time you read it, but like most people are like, yay, Last Wish, Sword of Death, great. And then it's like the series, I do hear that as much as I hear people say one of the best of all time. I also hear people say, well, after the short stories, it's okay.
And the best parts of the books would be short stories.
I think my view this is a recent thought I've just had as I finished up. I almost feel like Sapkowski is, like you said, he's a short story writer. But I think with his novels, if you look at the size of his novels, compared to this one, I think he's like an underwriter, or he likes to kind of get straight to the point of something. And like you said, he probably had this pressure on him where he's like, okay, this last book has to be big because it's the last book. But then also he's like, well, I'm not going to do it like you want me to do it. And like, because he could have, he could have thrown people into the battle and stuff, but he was like, nah, I'm gonna, and maybe the publisher was telling him, you should probably make this a bigger book too, So he's like, okay, well, I'll just do short stories that all stitch together with the medics and the Jara and, all these other random things that, like you said, you could have took it out of the book and you wouldn't have thought any less of it.
It went through time.
In fact, it probably would have been better, frankly. Like, I mean, just as like as what this book is, right? Like it's because, and even just like you guys were just saying, like reading Season of Storms, it was like, oh, this is good to be back, like because it's again like short stories are what he does best. They're so good. They're just really good.
Yeah, it almost feels like he was just like searching for stuff to bloat the book a little bit, instead of just because all the other books are about the same size,
or maybe just at that point, because I always see this, it's like it wrote all these different things and was just like they're all going in. That's what I see. It's like, we're not going to cut anything out, even though we could or should or whatever.
Yeah, maybe
the Stephen King, like they just get bigger.
But the real plot line of the series is not worthy of 5 novels. Just not enough happens.
No.
you know, it's the stuff from Gerald Getting's Ciri, which is like a short story, right? And then after that, what happens? He trains her to be a Witcher. That's worth some a novella,
Yeah.
right? And then then Vilgefort, then you know the Vilgefort stuff. It's not worth 5 novels.
No.
It's not enough storyline.
Yeah,
It's not, a big,
just
it's
feel
not
like
a big story. It's not a big.
yeah,
story.
it's all.
Yeah.
It's that's why I said like this whole
Too much
thing.
wheel spinning.
It's all about the character. It's all about Geralt, Yennefer, Ciri, and a couple Dandelion. It's all about. He writes good characters.
Great,
Yeah.
Like you said,
really good.
the big overarching plot could have been done in a trilogy.
Yeah, easy.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, he writes great stuff. Like Regis is just an excellent character.
Yeah.
Care is a decent character.
Zoltan Chive.
Yeah, the dwarves are outstanding. Like side characters, like they're all really entertaining. You care about them very quickly. He's good. It's just not a big plot.
Yeah,
as opposed to like Malazan, which is
Yeah.
the opposite, which is everything connects in this horrifically complicated way that you know, but everything matters too.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have the, you know, there's so much stuff going on, but all of it matters on some level.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like Sapkowski could do a George R.R. Martin where if they wanted to do like a Witcher 4, and they could be like, hey, we'll pay you $10 million. You just come in and write us a bunch of missions. Just because The Witcher 3 has some really, really cool like short stories on these missions that you have to do. Just have him come in and write you like 20 side missions, and then work on whatever main plot that you guys can agree on. But yeah, like you said, he might be the best short story writer that I've read. I mean, he was just but like you said, it's like stuff starts getting bloated and it's not really mattering when you're putting stuff together. But
and I feel like you can always tell. I've read some really great, like there's this book called The Damned Busters by, I think it's Matthew Hughes or something like that. And it is the first like maybe half the book is just, it's a 5-star read. And then you get into this was clear, and then you look it up and it was clearly expanded for novelization. And it's like, it's just, you kind of feel the bloat, but like it is such a perfect like opening, and you're just like, it just stinks that those haven't sold as well. I feel like things like the Murderbot has like really reopened like at least novellas and stuff to be able to make this a thing again. But absolutely, this did not. The plot was not heavy enough. Like if this would have just been shortened to a trilogy with all the great short story books too, like those can all inform as well. But man, it would have been just like it would be easy top 10, right? Like it'd just be, because there's some, it's a good story, and it goes all over the place. And maybe I've read about too many towers with the Lord of the Rings and with the Stormlight Archive, where I expected much different from this tower, and this one just went crazy town. And again, it got like just too confusing, I think, for me, and to where we just had to assume too much.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, everybody has pretty much the same opinion that we do as far as I've talked to people about the Lady of the Lake. It's like, but then also like, I feel like a lot of people, and now maybe this was different, like the day, as soon as Lady of the Lake dropped in Poland years before when it dropped, maybe people had a different opinion. Because I feel like the actual ending should be super controversial. I feel like people should be arguing about it, but like most people are just like, I get it. It's good. It's okay. I get what that's most people's opinion. Is like, okay.
You'll see this discussion on Twitter sometimes from writers from Eastern Europe, or just not Western Europe, like from Greece. Talk about how they have a history of sort of fairy tales and folklore where a character just kind of goes through and magical things happen to them and they're just sort of passively experiencing these things and then it ends, right? That's the story. They're not really doing anything. Things happen to them, and that's a typical structure for their folk tales. So I wonder if on some level people have a Polish readers would have had a not expected agency the way American readers expect agency from their characters.
That's a good point. Was it? I think it was E.C. Greaves.
Yeah,
that
it was E.C. Greaves
talking about that. Yeah,
he's not the only one. Other people have brought it up.
Yeah.
Especially people who are from a
so it's like a cultural thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
like I've seen Black authors say it, that they talk about like a people who have been like either Black or like people from South America, places that were colonized, have often will write stories where the characters they win by surviving. By learning to live in their oppressive society. Americans don't write or read stories like that. We don't accept that. And then American editors will pick up these books from like South American writers or Black writers and say, well, this character doesn't display agency.
You got to change it.
We don't get to, right? We don't. That's not our reality where you get to express agency. We're just trying to manage.
Well, I haven't actually seen that tweet or whatever. The only reason I'm on Twitter is to listen is for you, Joe. You are the new Twitter guy. I love it. I don't know where you find these things to rant about, but I'm here for it, Joe.
It's always genuine. Someone's on like a Discord saying something. I'm like, I got to tweet about this.
Yeah. You're like, I didn't mean to do this, but I got to set people off right now. And I'm like, I'm here for you, Joe. Tell me what's going on.
Axes are better than swords. I really thought that would take off, and it just didn't. I was really counting on that. I thought that was
prologues.
Prologues. I cannot believe the number, because I think I kicked off that wave, and that was coming back to me from like big names who had no idea who I am. But it rippled, through the writing community, and I'm like, Sun Yi Dean's talking about prologues. I'm like, that's awesome. I made you do that. You don't know who I am, but
that's awesome.
But
I still don't understand why people skip them, but
But like this thing is like I didn't see any of that, but I have been thinking about that exact scenario that you're talking about with where the characters just kind of go through the story. I was actually thinking about making a video about that. Now we're an hour and 10 in, so probably not a crazy amount of people are going to make it to the end. But like, it's like and I know it's not always has to be the chosen one, or like destiny. But it's like I do actually like stories where it's just like, okay, we're following a character through however many years. Cool stuff does happen. Epic stuff may happen to this character, but it's not purposeful. It's not like I am the chosen one and I am gonna go attack. I'm gonna take down the king. It's just like, okay, I'm a knight that just kind of travels around, and then crap happens to me, and I have to deal with it. Like, I tend to like stories like that even more than, because I'm not a big chosen. I'm not big on
definitely played itself out.
I mean, although some people might say Harry is in ways a chosen one. I mean, he's a Starborn, but really we don't know anything about it, really. But yeah, I mean, I tend to kind of like those, and I want to kind of dive into thinking about that more. It's like, well, is that a good, like, do people enjoy that a lot, or is that just, we got to have a certain, direction that the person's going?
I mean, random crap happening, you get that, right? That's like Jack Reacher. Like Jack Reacher just goes to a town and there's some horribly corrupt thing happening and he gets involved somehow randomly. They kidnap him by accident and now he's in the middle of it. Right. And then he like murders a bunch of people and saves the day. But he's still using he is coming up with a plan and murdering people.
Because he could just walk away.
Often he could just walk away.
Yeah, often
not that kind of guy. Yeah. But it is just random. Like he's just wandering from town to town. He has no plan. He only owns like a toothbrush and a bank account.
Yeah.
Like
I freaking love Jack Reacher too.
So good.
People like that, but there's definitely. But he's not just surviving. The stories don't happen to Jack Reacher. Jack Reacher happens
the story.
He happens to everybody else, right? So, but yeah, no, I think people can go for that, but again, American audiences really like our agency. We like our heroes to do stuff and save the day.
Yeah, because we're always
I do.
At least from a lot of and I have friends from I don't know why I maybe it's a European thing or maybe it's a whole a British thing, but I know a lot of British people are just be happy with what you got. It's meh. Well, why are you out there trying to be the best? It's just we're America. Well, because I had a friend, he's from London, and he was I came over here. He goes, I can't believe how positive you guys are when one of your friends does something well. He's if your friend wins something, you're we're all great job, man. That's freaking great. And then they're all why are you happy for them? It's man, good job, I guess, but don't try to be Mr. Ego now. It's
yeah. Well, and
we're over here just super positive, keep going, get as much as you can get, Yeah,
well, I lived in Germany, and you're you don't have that national pride there, you have it's which is of course warranted, right? Given the history, but it definitely is different. Exactly. It's yeah. But I will say, as as an American, I do struggle. I struggle with any story. I mean, not fully struggle, but just have a little I don't like when some evil doer or whatever can just go, boom, all these people are under my control or dead or whatever, Stranger Things, where they just start infecting everything.
Oh yeah.
And I'm I like at least for them to have some agency in it to be able to stop it if they could.
Yeah.
But then not, right? I'd rather at least have so that if it came to you, you could stop it if you just knew at least, or if
if you knew how.
Yeah, exactly. But it's but when it's just there's no chance, I struggle just a little bit. So I get that. Yeah.
I hate mind control.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what the Body Snatchers? Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Or the Purple Man in Jessica Jones. I don't know
oh my god!
Yeah.
I
it was super creepy.
That was okay. I mean, I don't.
It was really well done, but it's come on.
Yeah. It was. David Tennant was really good.
Just so good.
He's just really good in it. I know.
You wanted him to die so bad.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, guys. Well,
sounds awesome.
Yeah, this is the final Witcher until maybe the next Witcher.
Yeah.
All right.
If it comes out this year, we'll definitely have to regroup. But
this was fun. What a way to end it. I love this.
Bryce, what are you up to, Bryce? You want to tell people where they can check you out?
Oh man, I'm at Shelf Centered on the tubes of you. And Twitter is Centered Shelf, because that's what I got without any numbers. And Instagram, I had to get numbers again, so it's Shelf Centered 13. But anyway, yeah, I'm actually going to be on BellTube Wednesday.
Yeah.
What else? I've got, man, it's been crazy. I'm going to be on Tory Talks in about a month. And I don't have any time for it, as you guys have seen, but I love this so much. You guys make it so fun. I learned so much about these. Like I said, we were talking before this, and I was just I went back and I'm man, you guys that first discussion really helped inform the rest of my reading of the series, and it continues to. So I love this. This is part of why I went on to BookTube. So thank you guys.
Yeah, this is what it's all about.
Just friends talking the stuff that we love, and it's so much fun. So anyway, I just hats off to you guys, and you guys are awesome authors in both your books. I have two of them each. I have a book from each of you next up. I know you guys are far beyond me because I'm the slowest reader in the world. But I have you on my TBR, so we'll get to that and we'll get reviews up and stuff like that. But anyway, I think the world of you guys, and thank you so much.
And Joe, I know you got 47 things going on right now.
Yeah, no, I was thinking I love doing these because it makes me think about the book way more than I would if I just read it.
Yeah.
Beta reading and doing these, both those things, for me, they're just a different experience than just reading a book for fun. I don't think about it at the same level as I do if I have to talk to a bunch of guys about it for an hour in public. I'll think about it in a different way than if I'm just reading it as what's happens next. So yeah, I have jcmburn.com. I have 5 books out. You can catch them all on Amazon. 4 books on the hybrid helix and partial function, which I'm hoping to get in a Spiff box, Spiffbo 10.
Yeah.
And then I have a Patreon at jcmburn. You can follow me there for free. You don't have to, no reason to get a paid tier, where you can get every week an issue of the Grim Dwarf magazine, where there's a free, it's free, completely free. And every week you get a PDF or an EPUB with a chapter of my ongoing story and at least 2 other things. So right now I'm running 3 serialized stories, me and 2 other authors. Every week you get a chapter of each of our things, and some people like them. And I generally release on Sundays. It's been Sundays every Sunday so far. I haven't been late. And it's free. The graphics aren't great. The cover's not great, but it's free. So you got to cut me some slack. But that's been a lot of fun. So I have that's my fantasy story. So
That's awesome, man.
The eponymous Grim Dwarf. So guy wakes up from a dreamless death, and then things go downhill from there. That's the story.
Yeah, like since I haven't said this, I've only teased it, right? But since we're here at the end, if you made it to the end, I'll make the actual big announcement. So on April 8th, I am interviewing Jim Butcher.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Good thing I sat through this.
Tell him I have a on his shoes.
Yeah. So, if anybody's watching this, you can send me questions you would like me to ask him. And if I get some good ones, I mean, of course I already have a bunch that I'm going to ask him. I don't know how long he's going to be available for, maybe an hour, maybe 2. But if you have any questions, you can, send them to my email, or I'm everywhere. You can just message me.
Nice.
Did you see him on SFF Addicts?
Yes, I actually just watched that.
Really good.
I know he did it 4 months ago, something like that. So I just watched that to kind of not ask him all the same questions that they're going to ask.
Yeah.
That they asked him.
Yeah, he's really good. He was really good on that show.
Yeah, he actually did a 2-parter.
They always do that. They always do an interview and then an episode on a craft topic. How do you write good villains, or how do you whatever? And so they always do a 2-parter his were really good.
Yeah, it was great, and I was just lucky because they didn't really ask him a lot of the questions that I do. They kind of did, but I think I can get some. I want to ask him because he does. He has he's been doing this probably for what he's been big for about 15 years now, so he kind of loads up a lot of these long stories that I love every time I hear him, but I'm going to try to kind of get him into some other stories that we, he hasn't told. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you know where to hit me at, and you can.
The creepiest fan you had at Dragon Con, and was it Joe?
I'm like, Jim, if you see a guy named G-Sam Burn here, he was watching you at the urinal, just so you know.
Not exactly accurate, but close.
As far as he's gonna know, that's accurate. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for staying till the end. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you, guys.
We'll definitely find another way to be on here again for another discussion. If not The Witcher, then something else. But thank you all for watching us, and we'll see you soon.